I talk a lot about setting boundaries in regards to the process of trying to acquire peace and stability in your life. Setting boundaries is not optional if that's what your goal is. Setting boundaries is required. And I make mention that you got to set boundaries with certain people in your life, and some of them might be the person you live with, some of them might be your children, and those are the most difficult areas to set boundaries. And it's an ongoing thing in your life. And even when you do set boundaries, you feel in your heart that it's great and it's wonderful to do that, but then you're faced with the peer pressure from people who aren't spiritually enlightened, who aren't on the path to enlightenment, and who are going through some same out of control bullshit themselves. They want to criticize you setting boundaries. They want to misinterpret you as being hard and mean. I'm running into that right now, okay? I mean, I gave insight as to how my life was before with low self-esteem and instability and being an emotional janitor, emotional doormat, being out of control in regards to my own life. You know, not standing up for myself. That was a huge thing right there. You know, because being bullied as a child, I never stood up for myself. All I did is rebelled. And that rebellion lasted for years, and I wound up doing some damaging things to myself and to others. All of this came from a lack of identity, a lack of self-esteem, and just a total lack of everything that was necessary for me to be a whole independent person. And it took me years to get onto that, and I had to acquire a certain spiritual relationship with my Creator in order to get on that path, which means that I had to address all of the nasty stuff and clean that up. Now, am I saying I'm where I need to be? No, I still have some of that old stuff in me, don't get me wrong. But what I'm trying to do is try to take those negatives and turn them into positives, and that's an ongoing thing. And one of those things is setting boundaries. It really is. Because it's not so much setting the boundaries now. See, at first it used to be a problem with me setting the boundaries. Okay, have no problem with that. The problem that I'm running into now that I'm setting in boundaries is getting backlash from people that don't know Adam or jack shit about the situation, and I'm being interpreted as being mean or whatever. But see, I'm working through that as well. Because what I'm doing now is I'm looking at the person who is doing the criticizing and looking at their situation. And I'm like, ooh, you looking kind of shaky, baby. How are you going to talk about me? Or is it that you're a little low-key jealous because I set boundaries and you haven't? Yeah, I said it. Let me give you a case in point and I'm going to let you guys go. This is going to be a short one. When you set boundaries and you've already established, okay, these are my deal breakers, this is what I'm going to accept, this is what I'm not going to accept with this person, and it's going to be X, Y, Z, or else, we're just going to have to part company. And like I said, sometimes doing it with your children, sometimes doing it with your parents. These are the closest relationships you'll ever have in your life, and it's hard to do. But you've reached that breaking point. You spiritually figured in your mind it's either them or me. So the best way for us to keep on coexisting is that some boundaries have got to be set. Okay? Once you set those boundaries, you feel fine, and all of a sudden, here comes the backlash. Some random person, it could be an in-law that was only in the situation for 5 minutes, don't even know the backstory. It could be the friend of the person who's only been in the situation for 5 minutes and don't know the backstory. It's always somebody who's only been in the situation for 5 minutes after many, many years of a relationship that you had this person. It's always that person who's only been in the situation for 5 minutes going to come back and have the nerve to criticize you about your attitude. Hadn't taken 2 seconds to figure out why it even got to this point in the first place, because they don't have the whole story, and the story that was given to them was only given to them by the person they was involved with. That's the level of depth perception that they have. So it's gotten to the point now where, you know what, I'm like, okay, well, I think you're being mean. I don't care what you think. You're not here. You're not having to hear this crap from this child every single day. You're not here to hear this crap from this husband every single day. You're not here to see this destructive behavior with your parent with my parent every single day. You can call me whatever the hell you want. I'm at my wit's end right now, and if you don't understand it, then shut up. Look at your own situation. See, a lot of these people criticize you for setting boundaries because they're jealous that they do not have the wherewithal to set boundaries in their own lives. Most of these people who are criticizing you, who've only been in the picture for 5 minutes, they got a lot of bullshit that's going on in their life that's been unaddressed. So it's not that they're criticizing you. They know they're wrong for doing that. They're jealous because they don't have the strength to set boundaries. They're green. That's what you got to understand. So I'm learning now not to take the criticism to heart. Because I had to make set some boundaries in regards to my children recently. I mean, it wasn't anything where, relationship fell apart or anything like that. But there were certain attitudes and thought processes and behaviors that I had to address with both my daughter and my son and let them know, okay, you're grown, but let me tell you this isn't good. Okay? Whatever you got to do to fix this, you go ahead and you fix it. You go ahead and you process it, but you do it the right way. Because the way you're doing this right now is not working. It's not working. And I had to do that. Because your job as a parent does not end. I mean, your children may get grown. It's just that you're going to be there in a different capacity as they get older. The role, the duties of the parent change. You can't treat them like 5 and 6 year olds when they're 20 or 30. You can't. You have to be there, but in a different capacity. And when you see something that just doesn't jive with you, that you already know is a train wreck waiting to happen, it's your job to speak up on it and set some boundaries and say, hey, look, you can think what you want to think. But I'm letting you know right now, been there, done that. And the way that you're doing this right now is not going to work. Okay? It's not going to work. So, if you want to be stubborn and have an attitude and overthink and do everything else, keep in mind now, when this blows up in your face, don't come to me crying about it because I don't want to hear it. So I'm warning you now. And just because I said that, all of a sudden, here come these little 5-minute in your life people who only been in the situation for 5 minutes and 1 second, all of a sudden, oh, you're being too mean, you're being too hard. And I sit back and I look at this situation. I was like, okay, so this is the person that's got the bad marriage, but they're going to tell me about boundaries I set, and they haven't set any. I'm like, oh, okay, so this is the person that's still struggling with drinking all the time and losing jobs and losing money behind it. But then you're going to sit there and tell me to set boundaries. Oh, okay, but I'm being too tough. But you're the person that has the wife who does nothing but run the streets all the time while you pay the bills and sit here and you bust the church doors open talking about how good God is. You can't even control what's going on in your damn house. But you're going to tell me that I'm wrong for setting boundaries. How about you do this? Instead of criticizing me about setting boundaries, why don't you get with your creator and come up with a plan of setting boundaries in your own situation? Okay? So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and let you go. But this is to encourage people that are trying to set boundaries, because setting boundaries is required if you're going to improve your spiritual relationship with your creator. It's a part of the process. There's no way around it. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and let you guys go. Peace.